What's going on, guys? We're back. We're back again for number 2. Now today we're at Playground. Gonna be playing in here, either 1-2 or 2-5. They don't offer 1-3. And this is the warehouse. Gonna get in there. Benno, playing with my boy Benji. Gonna get in there. Gonna get some sick hands going. So catch right in there. Yep.
Oui, bonjour.
Bonjour. Get called for the 1-2 game first, and we're gonna buy in for $250, which is the table max. We begin today's session at around 5 p.m. and about 15 minutes into it, we get ace deuce of hearts on the button. There's an early position raise to $8, 2 callers, and I elect just to call. So 4 ways to a flop, which is pretty promising when it comes 3-6-9 with 2 hearts. A nut flush draw, everything considered pretty good. Backdoor straight draw and over. The pre-flop raiser continues with a bet of 10, and just I make the call. Again, I think I could raise, and I actually think that might be a better decision. Deny equity from 2 overs and get a lot of folds. There's also a lot of good turn cards for me that I can keep firing on. This is a good board for me, but in the moment I just decided to call. Turn is now the 7 of diamonds, bringing in a second flush draw and completing a straight. The raiser continues for a bet of 30, and I think all options are valid here. Folding's a little nitty, but again, it's okay against a tighter player. Again, I'm just going to decide to flat here and hope to get there or bluff it off. The river's now the 5 of clubs, just another brick for us. Bad run out, but I think we can get away with a lot of bluffs here because the pre-flop raiser will not have many straights and flush is missed. As I suspected, the raiser is going to check to me, and I don't think I'm ever going to win here with my ace high. So I bet 45 on this river. He ends up calling pretty quickly and shows 6-3 of diamonds for a flop 2 pair. Flush draw on the turn, didn't get there for either of us, but he's going to take this one down. Moving right along to this next one where I peel back the beautiful pocket queens in middle position. There's one limper for $2 and I decide to open at $10. There's a call from the big blind and the limper surprisingly folds. The flop comes 9-8-5 rainbow. All things considered, I think it's pretty bad. It's not the worst, but pretty bad. A lot of people cold calling 3-bets at these low stakes games have low suited connectors or low to middling pocket pairs that don't want to 4-bet or don't want to get re-raised off their hand but don't just want to fold. So I think this board hits them pretty well, but nonetheless, I'm a punter. I'm a bad player. So when he checks to me, I continue for $15 and he calls. Turn is now the 3 of hearts, bringing in a flush draw, and he strangely donks for $30. This seems pretty strong to me because people do this when you don't want them to check back, but in the moment I was super confused and ended up calling the 30. I think it's a little too soon to fold, that being said. So the river is now the 4 of diamonds, not really changing much, but bringing in more 2-pair combos that could be beating us, but I pretty much rule those out because I don't think any hands like 8-4, 9-4, 9-5 donk on the turn. So I think it was pretty much a brick. He leads into us another time for $75, and it's just a bad spot with queens. I think most of the time this is a fold, but it's also pretty player dependent. If you know your player is capable of making bluffs on a board like this, where you probably will not have 2 pairs and whatnot, you can sometimes call. This is what I do here. I know this guy is a very capable opponent, and I put in the call. He shows pocket 8s for a flop set. Well done. He gets the best of me in this one, but we'll see him again in a few hands. Right after that hand ends, I add on for another 100, so we're in for 400 total, and it's a good thing I do because this next hand is absolutely wicked. So this happens about 20 minutes later. I order some food, and I'm eating dinner when this all goes down. So there's a bunch of limps. I think there's 4 limps, and I'm eating, so I just decide to blind call from the small blind for an extra $1, and the big blind checks. So we go 6 ways to a flop, which comes 6-5 deuce with 2 clubs. After somebody bets $10, I finally look down at my cards and see 6 deuce of diamonds for flop, top, and bottom pair. Super neat flop. Really funny how this ended up happening here. I check raise right away. I think we should fast play this. I check raise to 30 to get calls from straight draws, flush draws, etc. Maybe a 6. Everyone folds, but the initial raiser calls the 30, which is good to see. We see just the gin card on the turn, the 6 of hearts. So we've got 6s full of 2s, basically the nuts right now. And we're in a pot with a bunch of draws still. I'm going to continue to bet, continue to charge those draws, and I bet 55. He doesn't waste much time before flicking in the call, which is great news. And the river is now the king of hearts, bringing in the backdoor flush draw. We're praying he has that, or maybe somehow has a king or another, the K6. He checks to me, and I end up shoving for, I think, 175 effective. He goes deep into the tank. I think he's in the tank for like 3 or 4 minutes, which is pretty long for this 1-2 game. He's asking questions like, do you want to show one, or will you show if I fold? I'm just not saying anything. I'm staring at the board, praying for a call. And after a while, he ends up folding, telling us he had a 6. Crazy, crazy fold by his part. Well done. In this next one, I peel back pocket 6s from the big blind. There's 3 limpers, and when action's on me, I actually decide to raise my 6s here to $20. I think I was getting a little bored, and also I thought no one would put me on a low pocket pair like 6s when I'm raising from the big blind, because most people just check and see a free flop, right? Anyhow, this is what I do, and 2 out of the 3 limpers call. Flop comes Jack 4 deuce with 2 hearts. I think this is a pretty good board. It can go either way with checking and betting. I elect to check here to see how the others want to play it. The first limper in the hijack now bets for 20. The button folds and I call. Turn is now the queen of diamonds. Pretty bad. Just another over, not what you want to see. I check and flow, and again, he bets 55. I'm not really believing this guy's story. Like, why would he just limp pre-flop with some strong jacks, strong queens? And I'm pretty sure Jack would just want to check now and get to free showdown. So after a little bit, I call, and the river now brings the jack of spades. So the flush draw misses, and it makes it way less likely he has a jack. I end up checking, and he almost snap jams, covering me for about $140. I go into the tank. I'm just thinking I should call. My gut says call, but in the end of the day, I pull a Doug Polk and tell the guy, if I flip over the 6 of hearts twice, I call, but if I see a black 6, I'll fold. I'm going to cut to the live audio right here really quickly because I thought it was pretty interesting and funny.
Wow. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. If I flip over the 6 of hearts twice, I'm calling. 1 black 6 and I fold, alright? Lock that in.
The opponent would later say that he had ace-king off. Super strange line, in my opinion, to take with that hand. I never would have put him on it. I guess I should have gone with my gut, but well done to you. This next one's just an absolute no gamble, no future. I'm pretty bored and tilted. Just things are not going too well right now during the session. So when I see 8-6 of clubs in middle position, I'm going to open a 10. There's a button call, and the small blind who just sat down, this is his first hand, he bought in for 100, he just shoves. He shoves for the 100. The big blind calls the 100, and I have 120 left around. Like, I wasn't re-adding, so I was just like, screw it. I hope I'm live. I hope my cards are live. So I put in the 100, and the button ends up folding. All 3 of us agree to show our cards. We see that we're up against king 10 off and pocket 9s. So we're going to need a ton of help. Let's see if we can get there. The board runs 10, 9, 3, another 3 on the turn, and then a 10 on the river. So king 10 actually goes runner, runner, bigger full house, and beats the flop set of nines, which is pretty crazy to see. We just have 8 high, but sometimes you gotta gamble and just stick it in. This takes us to the next hand where I have Jack 10 off on the button. There's an under the gun raise to 12. It folds to me. I call the 12. The small blind also calls, and the big blind folds. This pre-flop raiser just won a huge pot from us. I think he took $120 from us around. So I added on for another 100, and we're out for revenge. Flop is pretty nice when it comes Jack 6-7 rainbow. All things considered, pretty good. Top pair, pretty decent kicker. Could be worse. The pre-flop raiser continues with a bet of 15, and I make the call. The small blind's going to fold here. Turn is now a board pairing 7. I like this card because it doesn't hit him and it's less likely that he has pocket 7s. Nonetheless, he continues again for 20. I don't think there's anything to do but just flicking the call here, and that's what I do. River is just amazing. It's another jack giving us a full house. And now the guy decides to down bet to 15. This is definitely not enough for our hand, so after a little bit of Hollywood and deliberation, I raise to 50. He asks me if I'm capable of bluffing, and my words were, I certainly am. And he calls pretty quickly after that. I wasn't even trying to do speech play or anything, I was just being honest. Definitely capable of bluffing, but I show the jack 10, and we take it down against pocket 9s. Seems like he was a non-believer there. But sometimes I have it. Sometimes I just have it. Also, a quick note. During this hand, I actually won the hot seat. That just means that like the floor calls one chair in the entire place to win $250. I think it happens once every hour or once every half an hour. And my seat got called during this hand. So super wicked there. Getting a little 250 to put in the pocket.
How are ya?
That's a big boost of morale, which we definitely needed, because in between that Jack 10 hands and this one where we look down at pocket queens, I basically lost my whole stack, and we're playing super short. I think I only had $45 in my stack, which is really not what you want to see when looking down at this premium. So this hand happens quite literally 3 hands later, where I raise to 10. Benji's actually in this hand, sitting to my right. There's 2 callers, so 3 ways to a flop, which comes 7, 8, 9 with 2 clubs. Pretty scary flop, but we're so short. It's just going to get in, obviously. And Benji just leads into us for all in. Just puts me all in for around 35. So I obviously call. And the small blind also calls, which is pretty scary. And this brings in the 9 of diamonds on the turn. I just don't see how we're good here. I think the small blind's going to call with a lot of 9x hands or flush draws, straight draws. But nothing we can do except hold on. So the small blind also leads into Benji for 65, and Benji just snap folds. Just didn't have anything trying to give me action here. And the 4 of clubs peels on the river. Just terrible. Front door flush comes in. We beat nothing that they could have on this board, but the small blind is pretty hesitant to show. And I say queens. I show my queens, and he just says you're good. So a great triple up here that we desperately needed, and we're going to take this one down. This is going to bring us to the last hand of the night, and just strap in because it's absolutely insane. Probably one of the sickest hands I've ever played. So it starts when I look down at king queen off in the double straddle, in the $10 straddle. There's a limp in the cutoff. Benji also limps from the straddle, and I think this is a pretty good squeeze hand. So that's what I do. I'm going to squeeze to 40 here. The cutoff calls again, and then Benji folds. The cutoff is the player who I won against with the queens, and he said, you're good. We've been battling all night long, back and forth. His name's Pascal, super cool guy. So heads up to a flop, which comes Jack 8 deuce rainbow. Just really nothing for us. I'm going to continue like I have an overpair. I think it's valid because we raised from the double straddle, and not many players do that, as I explained earlier with the pocket 6s. So maybe he'll give me more credit than I deserve, but he knows at this point that I don't have it very often. So I continue for $35, and he pretty quickly calls. Turn is great. It's the queen of clubs giving us top pair, pretty great kicker. It's always nice when you're betting on the flop as a bluff and then turning it into value on the turn. So I bet 65 on this turn, and he is kind of in the tank, and then he says, do you want to show one? And I just laugh it off, not really think anything. And then after he thinks for about a minute, he just shoves. He ends up going all in, covering me for about 230 on top of my raise. And I was just like in disbelief. I was so not expecting this. I'm going to cut to the video audio because it was just unbelievable. I have a key card here, which is the king of clubs, which stops him from having semi-bluffs like king 10 of clubs or king 9 of clubs. All these hands that just make it less likely he's bluffing. But his speech play and asking to see a card and bantering, I just didn't believe the guy as well. So I was really in my head about it, really not knowing what to do. And after about 2 minutes of me being in the tank, I flick in a call. He asks right away, he says, do you want to run it 3 times? And I say, let's run it 3 times. So he shows jack 9 of clubs for a pair, a gutter, and a flush draw. We make an absolute amazing call here, in my opinion. I was super nervous about it, but super happy to get it in good here. Let's go to a run out.
3 cards. Let's go 3 times. Okay. Can I film the board?
Okay.
He shows jack 9 of clubs.
Wow.
Sick.
Wow, 1, 2, 3, 4.
The dealer leaves me in absolute shock after this run out. Just brutal stuff. We got it in as a 3-1 favorite and can't even hold one board. What can you do? That's poker, right? That's poker. Happens to the best, happens to the worst. I don't really know where I fit in that spectrum, but anyways, let's head to an outro. Again, live reaction of us cashing out today. Benji's literally ripping slots right now as we leave. Ridiculous. $3. Did you lose it all?
Yeah, $3.
Obviously.
Sorry.
Okay, here, chug this down and we'll go.
Yeah, you feel me?
Yeah, take it down. Unreal. We took some sick beats today. Not too good. We were about even and we won the hot seat. That was awesome. Won the hot seat. Have a good night. Take care. So that was pretty cool. And then at the very end, like what a beat that was. That was like one of the worst beats I've ever taken. Losing all 3 runouts, unreal. But overall, good session, good guys again, fun stuff. The numbers are gonna be popping up right here. Not sure what we're in and out for. But we're in the negatives today, for sure. We're in the negatives. Leaving this place. The rake's too high. Holy cow. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Take it easy. You're going to see a lot more of this kid. So thanks so much, guys. Take care. Peace.